Hi everyone, welcome to this video, created using Gemini Notebook. I've gone through the AI-generated subtitles and updated the proper names to match the Bible. If you notice anything I missed, feel free to leave a comment.
Think of King Solomon, and you likely picture a wise, peaceful ruler bathed in Golden Age glory. The older historical records in the Book of Kings, however, detail a much darker, bloodier reality about how he actually took the throne. His father, King David, is dying. The newly unified kingdom of Israel is staring down its first real succession crisis, and there is no legal precedent for a peaceful transfer of power. Up until this point, leaders like Saul and David relied on what historians call charismatic kingship. You didn't inherit the crown automatically by being the oldest son. You earned it through battlefield victories and the consensus of regional tribal elders. With David on his deathbed, that system collapses into a massive power vacuum. It triggers a frantic winner-takes-all race for the throne, where everyone involved knows the losers will be executed. The oldest surviving son is Adonijah. He leans heavily on tradition, building his coalition around the kingdom's old guard, the legendary military commander Joab and the high priest Abiathar. Opposing him is the younger son, Solomon. His campaign is run by a ruthless court faction operating deep inside the palace. His mother, Bathsheba, the prophet Nathan, and Benaiah, the commander of the royal bodyguard. This animated chart maps out the dividing lines of the crisis. Adonijah controls the national army and the religious establishment. Solomon has the palace insiders and the elite shock troops. Because the kingdom's major power centers are split so evenly between these two camps, a violent collision is inevitable. In this political system, there is no loyal opposition. To oppose the king is treason. Solomon's faction strikes first. While Adonijah is out holding a premature coronation feast, Nathan and Bathsheba intercept the dying King David in his chambers. They maneuver the frail king into officially declaring Solomon as his heir before Adonijah can consolidate his supporters. Moving instantly, Solomon is raced to the Gihon spring and anointed by a loyal priest. He then parades on King David's personal mule, a deliberate, highly visible broadcast of sudden legitimacy. The blare of horns and the shouting from Solomon's procession echo across the valley, crashing straight into Adonijah's nearby feast. Realizing they've been outmaneuvered, Adonijah's supporters panic and scatter into the hills. In a calculated show of political mercy, Solomon pardons his older brother. It's a move designed to project stability to the unsettled Israelite tribes, while he quietly bides his time. But a pardon does not erase a rival tower base. Solomon secured the crown on paper, yet the underlying threat remains completely unresolved, leaving his new throne highly vulnerable. Adonijah soon makes a fatal miscalculation. He asks to marry Abishag, the young concubine who cared for David in his final days. In the politics of the ancient Near East, claiming the former king's concubine constitutes a veiled legal claim to the throne itself. Solomon weaponizes this request instantly, treating the marriage proposal as an act of treason. He uses it as the legal pretext to unleash his bodyguard commander, Benaiah, to execute a total purge, an event historians call the blood settlement. Looking back at our faction map, we can track the strikes. First, Adonijah is executed, cleanly severing the rival head of the snake. Next is the legendary general Joab. He flees to the sacred tabernacle to seek sanctuary, but he is assassinated right at the horns of the holy altar. Deliberately shattering this religious taboo proves to the public that absolutely no one is safe. The cleanup finishes with the non-lethal banishment of Abiathar the priest and the eventual execution of a wildcard rival named Shimei after he violates his house arrest. Solomon is left entirely alone at the top of the hierarchy. This ruthless purge is the true beginning of Solomon's reign. By systematically eliminating his political rivals, he transitions from a vulnerable heir to an absolute, unchallenged monarch. Stepping back from the bloodshed, this purge permanently ended the entire era of Israel's charismatic monarchy. Political power was stripped away from the regional tribal elders. From this point forward, all authority was concentrated tightly within the palace walls in Jerusalem. This map shows Solomon's new administrative reality. He carved the kingdom into 12 tax districts that deliberately ignored and erased the traditional tribal boundaries, specifically to weaken regional loyalties. By winning this civil war, Solomon rewrote the constitution of ancient Israel. He replaced a fragile, consensus-based tribal network with a strictly centralized autocracy. That autocracy carried a massive domestic cost. By bypassing the local elders and imposing heavy taxes and forced labor quotas, Solomon deeply alienated his own people, especially the northern tribes. Later authors, like those of the Book of Chronicles, would erase this bloodshed, crafting the idealized narrative of a peaceful philosopher-king. The gritty reality of his administration was far darker. Throughout his reign, resentment over these oppressive administrative policies simmered just beneath the surface of his wealthy cosmopolitan empire. His unified, peaceful state was a fragile illusion built on political violence and disenfranchisement. It was a foundation that would violently crack the exact moment he died, tearing the kingdom in two.